beautifuls, this is Aromie here, and welcome back to Plane. We are here, and, I don't know what's going on, besides the fact that this woman here to our right isn't really fond of Max. Oh, Cecilia. I forgot her name. I came out to chastise you for being, or chastise? I don't know. You for being late, and I also heard you broke regulations. Again. Her cold glare found its way to me, and I had to stop myself from shivering. I assume you're the one she brought back this time. My name is Cecilia. I am Maxine's boss, as well as the head historian. Her eyes traveled back to Max, and I could tell she was done talking to me, at least for now. I told you, my name's Max. Max! Max almost sounded as if she were whining. Cecilia rolled her eyes and let out a heavy sigh. I must say that I am very disappointed that you've done this. She gestured to me. Her movements were graceful, and I found myself almost entranced. Again, Max shrugged casually. Don't worry, Cece. I checked her out. She wasn't important, and she was going to die in the plane crash anyways. As she should have. I flinched at her words. I wasn't important? I should have died? Maxine, how many times have I had to tell you that we are not to tamper with time unless it's necessary? Knowing me in this position, I would keep quiet. Because I'm not the type of person that would be like, what the heck? Did you say I wasn't important? So I'm going to keep quiet. I bit my lip as much as I wanted to say something and stand up for Max. I couldn't get what they said out of my mind. Not important. Yeah, that would be stuck in my brain. I closed my eyes and focused on breathing. Anxiety pressed down on my chest. Riles? My eyes snapped open and I looked to Max. Her hand sat on my shoulder and she had a concerned look on her face. You good? I'm okay. Cecilia cleared her throat and waited for the two of us to look at her. Get to work, Maxine. You. She pointed to me and turned to walk away. Come with me. Max gave me a reassuring nod and thumbs up before walking off in a different direction than Cecilia. I took a deep breath and stumbled after Cecilia. She hadn't waited for me to start walking. What's your name? Riley. She looked down and started tapping on the screen of a small device, similar to the one Max had on the plane. She didn't say anything after that. We walked through the crowds of people. I was glad that Cecilia was on the taller side. It made it much easier to follow her. Finally, she stepped onto a familiar-looking blue pad and waited for me to catch up and stand beside her. Floor 12. The familiar blue light filled my vision. With moments, I was in a much quieter area. I stumbled forward, but this time I was able to catch myself before falling. It was getting easier, but I still felt sick to my stomach. I'll give you a moment to compose yourself. She looks really pissed off. Cecilia stared at the screen of her device, tapping away at it as she waited. I took a few breaths in my nose and stood straight again. I'm okay now. Thanks. It's difficult for the bodies of those who aren't used to our technology to adapt. Her voice was still as cold as ever. When I was ready to look up at my surroundings, I lost my breath again. This room was beautiful and clean. It stood out from everything else I've seen so far. It almost felt like my own time. The furniture was unlike something I would have seen in a principal's office back home, though it was obviously much more expensive. This is my office. You may take a seat. I took a moment to look around and absorb all the details, but remembering that she was waiting for me, I took a seat across from her desk. She let out a sigh that turned to a soft hum as she crossed the room and stood in front of one of her many bookshelves. Her eyes scanned each book one by one before she finally found what she was looking for. Knowing how Maxine is, I doubt very much that she told you about our trials. She hasn't really told me anything. That's unsurprising, considering she never does. Which means it's up to me to tell you everything. If it were strictly my decision, I would merely send you back. But, she trailed off. I watched as she deftly flipped through the book she had in front of her. Every refugee from past time must meet 3 specific criteria in order to be allowed to remain in the society. First, they had to have no significant impact on history after removal from their time. Maxine has already cleared you on that front. Second, they had to pass a health exam. If a refugee is carrying deadly pathogens within their person, they are held in confinement before either being cured or, if we lack the medicine to do so, sent back to the past with no memory of ever time traveling. A quick scan of her body did not detect any unusual health issues, so you had passed that test. Lastly, they had to prove that they could make a significant contribution in this society. Each person brought here from the past is required to go through a trial to ensure that they will be valuable to our society. They must demonstrate a skill or a set of skills before they are approved. What sort of skill? Anything that could be considered useful or unique. She looked up from the book for the first time and started directly at me? I'm guessing stared directly at me? Nearly every person who attempts a trial fails, and I doubt you'll be any different. Okay. I bit my lip and looked down. She was probably right. But as you are at least a temporary citizen, you're required to fill out this form so that I may grant you a citizenship card that proves you're a legitimate refugee from the past. She passed a small tablet over the desk and placed it gently in front of me, then turned back to her book. She idly flipped through the pages while she waited for me to fill out the form. I looked down at the screen and bit my lip. The questions were all pretty common things, stuff like my full name, birthday, height, and weight. I filled it out quickly. Cecilia didn't seem like a woman who really liked to wait. I'm done. She let out a satisfied hum and brought the tablet back over to her side of the desk. She glanced over the information, then set the tablet to the side. That's all I needed for you. Sorry. She may return. Oh, no. You may return to the lobby to wait for Maxine to return, as I assume you'll be staying with her for the time being. She lowered her gaze back to her book. I didn't move from the chair as a question pressed in my mind. Yes? If you have something to ask me, then please ask. If you're going to sit there and stutter, then leave. Wow! I gulped and wetted my lips. If you wanted to send me back, then why don't you? I wasn't sure why I asked. It isn't like I wanted to be sent back. She looked up from her book, surprise painted on her face. It has been deemed cruel by the board of directors to immediately send refugees back to death after giving them the chance at life, even if they were not supposed to be brought here. Maxine has a large heart and likes to take advantage of this rule. Oh, is that all? I stood, still pressing my teeth into my bottom lip. Yes, thank you. Your trial will be in a month from now. I wish you luck. Right, thank you, I guess. I turned to walk out of her office, and as I stepped nearer to the door, my legs felt like I was moving through molasses. What was I supposed to do? I didn't even contribute to my own society. Max said it herself, I'm unimportant. How was I supposed to figure out a way to contribute to theirs in a month? I ran a hand through my hair. Ooh, hello cutie. Nice glasses that seem to be hovering above your face. There's no rim or anything. Excuse me. Huh? I looked up from the floor and realized I was standing in front of the teleporter at the end of the hall. Oh, sorry. I moved to the side to let the man pass. He couldn't have been much older than I am. He was wearing a red uniform with a hat similar to Max's. I watched after him as he stepped past me and directly into Cecilia's office, closing the door behind him. I shook my head, finding myself happy for the very brief distraction as I stepped onto the teleporter. Lobby. The teleportation still took me by surprise, and when my feet found the ground again, I stumbled off the pad and braced myself against the wall for a moment. I could hear a few chuckles as people walked past me, but I tried my best to drown out the noise and let my stomach settle. You okay there, Riles? I looked up from the floor to come eye to eye with Max. She had a sort of smug grin on her face, and I frowned. I thought you had work. I did, but I'm all done for the day. Already? Time traveler, remember? Right. Did you just come back at the same time you left then? She hummed and shrugged casually. A few minutes later to avoid mistakes and whatnot. You're ready to head home? I'm tired. Sorry, my phone's going off. I pushed myself off the wall and nodded gently, making sure not to upset my body again. I wasn't sure how much more of this teleportation I could take. Ready? Great! Where are we going? She turned towards the exit of the building. I slowly followed after her, feeling mentally and physically drained. I hadn't even been awake that long, but the exposure to the future tech and Cecilia must have tired me out. At least that's what made sense to me. Max turned to me, a concerned look on her face. You sure you're okay? I think I've been using the teleporters a bit too much. I gripped my stomach and took a deep breath once again. I haven't ate anything, girl. Let's sit for a minute then. I nodded and we made our way over to a nearby bench. I sat still, gripping my stomach, and Max crossed her legs beside me. There's no way we're walking up the stairs. Oh! I hadn't even realized I was hungry. Max let out a snort and covered her face with her gloved hand. Too much teleportation? More like not enough food? She let her laughter out, and I found myself blushing wildly. It isn't really that funny. We should go back to my place so we can eat. You haven't had anything since yesterday. Yeah, we should go do that. I'm hungry. Come on then, there should be another monorail. I was gonna say meal, what? Another meal. Another monorail any minute now. I took a deep breath and braced myself, then stood and followed after Max. We left through the same entrance we came in not even an hour earlier. So, how was Cecilia? Pretty intense. Max laughed her brassy little F as if it were the exact answer she was expecting. That's Cece for you. She told you about the trial, right? I bit my lip and nodded meekly. I didn't even want to think about the trials. Oh, monorail! Come on, let's go. Max linked her arm in mine once more and dragged me back onto the monorail. This one is going in the same direction as the one we took here. Yeah? She raised an eyebrow and gave me a confused look where her realization appeared on her face. Oh, we only have the monorail going one way. The monorail isn't like the roads and stuff because it's fast enough that we only needed the one. Are you saying this is the same monorail we were on earlier? Yep. My eyes widened and she chuckled. She grabbed a seat in almost the same spot that we sat before and stretched out, letting out a small groan in the process. How was work? Boring without you there. Without me there? Now that you're here, you aren't on the plane anymore. How does that work? I'm not sure. They explained all the time travel stuff during job training, but that was so long ago and I barely paid any attention anyways. Oh. I bit my lip as I took the seat next to Max. What made the plane crash? Oh, it got hit by lightning and the engine was really old and needed to be replaced, so it got short-circuited, and she whistled and made a motion with her hands of what was supposed to be the plane falling, then crashing into the ground. Well, usually, airplanes and airports check on that stuff, I think. I don't know, I don't work for one. She smacked her two hands together and made a rather impressive explosion sound. And boom! Everybody died. I gulped. Why are you studying the plane crash? That's confidential. It is? Nah, but I don't really want to talk about work anymore. Oh, sorry. The monorail was incredibly silent, and I found myself gazing out the windows once again. It amazed me that this one monorail could go around the city and transport so many people so quickly, and it was running on electricity. So, what are you going to do for the trial? Oh, I thought for a second. I'm not good at much. That can't be true. I shrugged and Max stood up. It's our stop. But Riles, you gotta think of something. She frowned and actually looked serious and really concerned. You'll be sent back to the plane otherwise. Right. Cheer up, girlie. We'll think of something. She threw her arm over my shoulders and led me off of the monorail, back towards her apartment building. You have to be good at something. I was a chef, right? I can cook. I couldn't think of anything to say to her, so I walked back up to her apartment in a semi-awkward but still semi-comfortable silence. The teleporter once again threw me for a loop, and Max waited patiently for me to recover before we continued down the hall. She unlocked the door and let me in first. So, you're hungry, right? I gave a slight nod, still feeling weak. I'll get some food ready. Aren't you hungry? Or are you... what? She smiled and stalked off to her kitchen to prepare dinner. I sat on the on the bed-like couch and took a deep breath, taking the moment to relax. Food's ready! What? How is everything in the future so fast? I jumped off the couch and walked into the kitchen. Max was already sitting at the counter eating. Eating... what is this? On the counter were 2 plates of some gray cube substance. I looked to Max in horror and saw her eating the goop with a spoon. My stomach turned at the sight and she raised an eyebrow. It's a nutrient block. This is what you usually eat? Yeah. The food from the past is pretty much considered unhealthy, and preparing it takes so much time. Have you ever had food from my time? She seemed to think for a second, then she shrugged. I've had a few things. We make fast food when we have dinner parties. But... she gave me a cheeky grin. I'm not really the type for dinner parties. I could tell. Are you going to eat? She pointed to the depressing gray block that sat on the untouched plate, and I tentatively took a seat at the counter. I'm imagining that one episode of SpongeBob when they had a mass-produced jelly burger. That's what I'm thinking of. I guess so. Except that was like cement, right? Or disgusting crap. I raised the spoon she had set out for me and scooped a small corner of the nutrient block. I took a deep breath and shoved it into my mouth, not giving myself to think about it. It smelled and tasted like nothing. Its texture was a mix between gelatin and firm tofu. Ew, I hate tofu. But it was flavorless. Not even a hint of the neutral taste of tofu or sweet vanilla as was the usual default, or even the chalky bitterness of vitamins. I found myself disappointed. You'll live off of this? Yep! She finished eating her portion and dumped her plate into the sink behind her. The water turned on by itself and she turned back to me. What do you think? I didn't want to be rude, but I couldn't lie to her either. It's pretty bad. Bad was an understatement. The texture was easy to swallow, but the taste left everything to be desired, and the presentation of the plate was extremely unappetizing. I looked down at the gray blob, not wanting to look at her just in case I offended her. That's where I fit in! I will make the food! For you people! For her! Max's familiar laugh filled the room and I felt relief. It's nothing special. I'm going to get a bit of rest. Feel free to make yourself at home. She gave me a thumbs up and nodded to her. I nodded to her as she walked out of the room. Oh, and Riles? She popped her head back in the kitchen and gave me a wink. After I rest a bit, I'll show you what the movies are like now. I let out a short, breathy laugh. That sounds great, Max. She disappeared from view again, and once I heard her room door close, I turned back to the lump of gray nutrients. I couldn't believe this was all happening. One moment I'm going to Paris to be a chef. That was the most exciting thing that would have ever happened in my life. And now, because of this odd, cheerful, and surprisingly big-hearted future lady, I'm living in the year 2165. If I wasn't sitting here, staring at the gray block of future food, I wouldn't even have believed it myself. By sheer determination, I managed to down the rest of the nutrition block. Afterwards, I sat in the living room and waited for Max. We spent the rest of the day watching incredible movies, remakes of remakes in 3D, and some were even in hologram. And just before midnight, Max retired to her room. She had to work tomorrow, but before she went to sleep, she showed me where the nutrient blocks were, just in case. I decided to go to bed just after her, and I wandered into the spare bedroom she was letting me stay in. The bed was more comfortable than I remembered, and it didn't take me long before I dozed off. Riley! Hey, Riley! Riles! Get your ass up! I rolled over in bed, ignoring Max's calls from outside the door. I hadn't left the bedroom all day yesterday, and she came to check on me a few times, but she was pretty busy from work. Riley, do you want to come to work with me? No. What the heck? I ain't going to work with you. My voice cracked in a yawn, covering my head with the blanket. You've been cooped up in here for so long. Come on, you need to get out. I'm okay. Have a good day at work. I heard Max let out a huff of air. Make sure you eat. Eat. Ugh. My stomach turned at the thought of that disgusting excuse for food that Max had me subsist on for the past 2 days. I could hear the front door open, then close, and I lifted my head from the bed. I groaned and buried my face in the pillows again. I spent the entire day yesterday thinking of what I could do to pass the trial, to live. The only thing I was good at in my time was cooking. I was a chef. It was my life. But food isn't necessary here. Hell, they don't even like food. It's looked down upon. How do they move? Like, you need food for energy, don't you? What are they? I mean, they're getting from the nutrition block, I guess, but that's not real flavor. Everything I do, everything I am, it's never good enough. I let out a whimper and sat up, sitting here feeling sorry for myself. Wasn't going to fix anything, but I didn't know what else to do. My eyes scanned the room and landed on my bag, the one that held all my belongings, tucked neatly into the corner of the room. I might as well unpack. I let out a sigh, though I was thankful for something that could take my mind off of the trial. I crawled out of bed and dragged the pack over to the dresser. Sitting on the floor, I studied the dresser. There were no handles to open the drawers. I glared at it. I was already getting sick of this future tech stuff, but taking it out on the furniture wouldn't fix anything. I moved closer to the dresser to try and figure out how to open it. Almost everything was pretty initiative, so I moved my face closer to see if there were any buttons, and as I absorbed the drawers, the one closest to my head slid out and smacked me in the forehead. Hey! Ow! I moved backwards and glared at the dresser again. I guess it opens when you get close enough to it. So, like, just hover your hand. Open sesame! I tested my theory by moving my hand close to the same drawer. It slid open. Why was the teleporter easier to figure out than the dresser? I would assume that already. I don't know why the girl didn't think of that. I bit my lip and unzipped my pack. I didn't have very many clothes, and what I did have was basically just extra pairs of what I wore all the time. I bought my clothes on sale and they were comfy, so I just got one design. I slid them all neatly into one drawer and waved my hand in front of the dresser again. The drawer closed and I let out a soft sigh. I didn't have much else in my pack. Ugh, I gotta, like, belch. So I placed it gently beside the dresser. Anywho, that is where we're gonna stop for today's episode. I'm pretty sure our girl is gonna be like the best chef in the world and like somehow brings back food for the future to understand what flavor is. That's what I feel like her passion or her role in this society is. I'm not too sure though. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Stay beautiful and I'll see you guys in the next one.